The history of the British monarchy begins long before the crowns, coronations, and palaces that people recognize today. It emerges from a land of tribes, warlords, and shifting alliances, where power was earned through survival rather than ceremony. In the ancient landscapes of early Britain, scattered communities lived in wooden hill forts and simple settlements, unaware that their descendants would one day form one of the most enduring royal dynasties in the world. This early land was defined by uncertainty. Tribes clashed over territory and honor, and leadership often changed through battle. Into this world stepped the earliest rulers whose names flicker in fragments of legend and archaeology. They were not kings in the modern sense but leaders who commanded loyalty through strength. As time moved forward, new forces reshaped the island. When the Roman Empire extended its reach into Britain, local rulers faced an entirely new kind of power. The Roman presence did not erase the old tribal identities but altered them dramatically. Roads, cities, and trade connected regions that once felt isolated. Yet even under Rome, the seeds of future kingdoms grew quietly. When the Roman legions finally withdrew, Britain was left exposed. Communities had grown used to an external authority holding back rival tribes, and without it, the island fractured once more. Emerging from these fractured territories were leaders who gained influence through military skill, diplomacy, and the ability to bring fragmented groups together. These early rulers became the ancestors of what would one day be recognized as the English monarchy. The arrival of the Anglo-Saxons marked another turning point. They brought their own customs, languages, and warrior culture. Across the land, small kingdoms formed, each led by rulers determined to secure their future. These were harsh times. The struggle for supremacy between these kingdoms created stories of heroism and tragedy that still echo through early chronicles. Among these shifting powers, certain rulers began to rise above the rest, shaping a path that moved slowly toward unity. The need for cooperation grew as new threats appeared across the sea. Viking raiders swept across the coasts with relentless force, disrupting fragile stability and pushing kingdoms into urgent alliances. The pressure of external danger forced the creation of stronger leadership, and from this turmoil emerged kings whose influence would lay the foundation for a unified realm. One of these rulers stood out as a figure of remarkable resilience. His efforts to defend the land against relentless invasion transformed him into a symbol of unity. Through strategy, diplomacy, and determination, he set the stage for a monarchy that could expand rather than collapse under pressure. After his time, his descendants continued the work he began, slowly weaving together the once divided territories under a single crown. This early unification did not happen all at once. It was shaped by long struggles, fragile alliances, and the persistent fight to defend the land. Each generation carried the responsibility of keeping the realm whole, and the monarchy became the center of that responsibility. As the kingdom grew stronger, the idea of kingship evolved. Rulers were no longer seen solely as warriors but as guardians of law, protectors of the church, and symbols of national stability. Yet the tensions between personal ambition and public duty remained constant. When foreign powers set their eyes on the island, the monarchy faced one of its greatest tests. The arrival of a new claimant from across the sea reshaped everything. His victory brought new traditions, new languages, and new systems of governance that transformed the monarchy permanently. Under his rule, the foundations of royal authority shifted from tribal loyalty toward structured law and centralized power. Castles rose across the land, not only as military strongholds but as physical symbols of royal dominance. The crown now represented more than leadership. It represented control. Months and years passed as the realm adjusted to these vast changes. Rulers faced rebellions, conflicts with nobles, and constant battles to defend territory at home and abroad. The monarchy became both a stabilizing force and, at times, a source of conflict. Some kings strengthened the realm through wisdom and patient leadership. Others plunged it into crisis through poor judgment or ambition that exceeded their grasp. Yet through each era, the monarchy endured, adapting with every challenge. A moment of profound transformation arrived when tensions between the throne and powerful families erupted into a long internal struggle. Rival factions claimed legitimacy, leading the land into a conflict that tore its nobility apart. Battles raged, alliances shifted, and the fate of the monarchy hung in the balance. When the dust finally settled, a new dynasty rose, determined to restore order and prestige. This new line of rulers understood the importance of both power and image. They strengthened the monarchy through bold political moves, strategic marriages, and cultural influence. Under their rule, the kingdom expanded its reach, embraced new ideas, and began establishing connections that extended across oceans. The discovery of lands far beyond Europe opened doors the monarchy had never imagined. Explorers and traders carried the influence of the crown to distant shores, and the realm transformed from a regional power into the center of a growing network that spanned continents. With increased power came increased responsibility, and the monarchy stood at the forefront of a rapidly changing world. Wealth flowed into the kingdom, and with it came advancements in art, architecture, and education. But the expansion also brought new moral and political challenges that future rulers would be forced to confront. Even within this age of growth, internal tension simmered. Questions about religion, authority, and the rights of the people began to push against the traditional power of the crown. Conflicts erupted between monarchs and their own subjects. Some rulers tried to enforce absolute authority, while others searched for compromise. The struggle between monarchy and parliament grew increasingly complex, shaping the future identity of the nation. A single ruler's decisions could plunge the land into conflict or lead it toward reform. When a monarch pushed too far, the realm reached a breaking point, leading to a dramatic confrontation that forever altered the balance of power. For the first time, a monarch's authority was challenged not just in theory but in brutal reality. Yet even after this crisis, the monarchy was not extinguished. The institution rebuilt itself, learning from past mistakes. The crown returned with a renewed sense of purpose, embracing constitutional limits that allowed it to survive in an era where absolute rule was no longer acceptable. This transformation marked the beginning of a new age for the monarchy. Rather than controlling government directly, rulers became symbols of national unity, guardians of tradition, and representatives of continuity in times of rapid change. The centuries that followed brought wars, revolutions abroad, technological progress, and shifting global landscapes. Through each upheaval, the monarchy adapted again and again. In some eras, it appeared fragile. In others, it emerged stronger than ever. Its identity transformed as the world around it transformed. Royalty became intertwined with national culture, public ceremonies, diplomacy, and global representation. The crown learned to survive not by resisting change but by aligning itself with the values of each new generation. As the modern era dawned, the monarchy faced new challenges. The world became more connected, more skeptical, and more demanding of transparency. Rulers stepped into new roles that required public engagement, emotional connection, and symbolic leadership rather than political power. Yet despite these changes, the monarchy remained one of the most recognizable institutions on the planet. Its past was filled with war, triumph, betrayal, romance, tragedy, and renewal. Its present stood on the foundation of centuries of history, and its future continued to be shaped by the same qualities that had allowed it to endure from ancient tribal leaders to a globally respected constitutional institution. As the monarchy moved deeper into the modern age, the kingdom confronted an era defined by powerful personalities and rising tensions between rulers and subjects. Monarchs found themselves at the center of debates over power, taxation, religion, and foreign influence. Some navigated these storms with wisdom and care, while others struggled, surrounded by factions attempting to sway the crown for their own interests. Each decision carried consequences that could shape the entire realm for decades. The crown, though proud, increasingly relied on balancing the desires of noble families, the growing influence of parliament, and the expectations of ordinary citizens. The emergence of a literate public meant that royal decisions were no longer hidden behind palace walls. Ideas spread quickly, and people began questioning long-standing assumptions about the divine right of kings. With each reign, the monarchy was forced to adapt to a world in which its authority was no longer absolute. The crown was learning, slowly but irreversibly, that survival required collaboration rather than command. A dramatic turning point emerged when the conflict between monarchical power and parliamentary authority reached its peak. Generations of tension erupted into a violent confrontation that challenged the very core of royal supremacy. The kingdom fractured into opposing sides, each convinced that they defended the true spirit of the nation. For the first time in the monarchy's long history, the power of the crown was not only questioned but forcibly removed. The land entered a period without a monarch, a time of uncertainty and military rule that tested the identity of the entire nation. But the absence of the crown revealed something deeper. The monarchy, though flawed, was woven into the fabric of the realm far more tightly than many had realized. When the monarchy was restored, it returned with a quieter confidence and a deeper understanding of its limitations. The new ruler recognized the lessons of the past and took a more cautious approach to authority. A subtle but profound shift occurred as the monarchy accepted that its future depended on cooperation with the nation's governing institutions. The crown no longer sought to dominate parliament but to coexist with it, creating a balance that would shape the next centuries. In this new age of stability, the monarchy entered a period of cultural flourish. Courtiers, artists, musicians, and storytellers filled royal courts with creativity. Grand palaces were built and expanded, displaying wealth and elegance unlike anything seen before. The monarchy's image became a tool of diplomacy, projecting strength and refinement across Europe. Royal marriages were carefully arranged, forging alliances that carried political weight and connected the monarchy to powerful families beyond the island's shores. Yet beneath the luxury and ceremony, the monarchy remained vulnerable to the shifting tides of politics and public opinion. Conflict continued to shape the realm. Wars erupted across Europe, drawing the kingdom into struggles for power and influence. Monarchs were expected to lead not only in matters of state but on the battlefield, proving their worth through bravery and strategy. Some rose to the challenge, securing victories that strengthened the realm. Others faltered, leaving the monarchy exposed to criticism and unrest. The crown, though revered, could not escape scrutiny. As the realm pushed into a new century, economic changes reshaped the kingdom. Trade expanded across oceans, connecting the nation to distant territories. Ships crossed vast waters carrying goods, people, and ideas. Wealth flowed into the kingdom from these exchanges, but challenges followed as well. Social inequality grew more visible, and the monarchy faced increasing pressure to address the needs of the wider population. The role of the ruler evolved once more, now expected to guide the nation's moral compass as well as its governance. A new dynasty eventually rose to power, bringing a fresh vision for the monarchy's future. With a mixture of determination and caution, these rulers sought to strengthen both the crown and the nation. They made bold political decisions, introduced reforms, and expanded the influence of the kingdom across the seas. Their reigns were marked by ambition and conflict, shaping the identity of the monarchy and the nation for generations. The crown became intertwined with exploration, trade, and the establishment of distant colonies, extending the realm's reach far beyond its shores. This expansion brought both opportunity and hardship. The monarchy oversaw unprecedented growth but also faced moral dilemmas as global influence created complex questions about culture, governance, and human rights. The crown found itself tied to decisions that would shape not only the kingdom but distant lands as well. Some rulers embraced this global responsibility with a sense of duty, while others struggled beneath its weight. At home, the monarchy faced new challenges as society began to change. A growing number of citizens demanded representation and reform. Parliament grew more powerful, and movements calling for greater democratic rights began to spread. The crown found its authority gradually limited by new laws that reflected the changing attitudes of the population. Rather than resisting these shifts, the monarchy adapted once again, choosing to remain a stabilizing symbol while allowing elected leaders to guide the government. The arrival of new scientific ideas transformed the cultural landscape. Discoveries challenged traditional beliefs about the world, and this intellectual transformation influenced every aspect of society, including the monarchy. Rulers engaged with scholars, supported inventions, and embraced developments that reshaped the nation's economic and social structure. The monarchy became a patron of progress, aligning itself with advancements that would eventually define the modern age. Yet even in this era of innovation, personal stories shaped the monarchy in ways that history books often overlook. Royal families experienced triumph and tragedy, love and loss, political pressure and personal conflict. The lives of monarchs were no longer hidden. Their choices, actions, and relationships influenced public opinion, sometimes strengthening the crown and sometimes weakening it. Through these intimate stories, people saw the monarchy not only as an institution but as a family navigating the same emotions and struggles as the rest of the nation. As the 18th century approached its end, the monarchy found itself at a crossroads. Revolutionary ideas were spreading across Europe and America, challenging the very concept of hereditary rule. Rumblings of change echoed through the kingdom, and the crown had to navigate a world increasingly suspicious of unchecked authority. Rulers faced intense scrutiny and were forced to adapt not merely for survival but to maintain relevance in a rapidly evolving society. With the dawn of the 19th century, the monarchy entered an era that would redefine its public image. The Industrial Revolution transformed the nation into a global powerhouse. Cities expanded at unprecedented rates, technology advanced, and the lives of ordinary people changed dramatically. The monarchy became a stabilizing presence amid this rapid transformation, embodying continuity in a world that seemed to move faster with each passing year, yet the same industrial strength that fueled progress also created hardship. Workers faced difficult conditions, social inequalities widened, and political tensions deepened. The monarchy, now deeply connected to the identity of the nation, was expected to demonstrate compassion and leadership during these challenges. Rulers who succeeded in doing so gained genuine respect from the population. Those who failed faced public disappointment. As the 19th century progressed, a ruler emerged whose influence would define not only the monarchy but the entire era. Under this reign, the crown became a global symbol of stability, morality, and national pride. The royal family became deeply connected to the public, and the monarchy reached a level of cultural significance unlike any time before. This era left a mark so profound that it shaped the monarchy's image well into the future, but even the most celebrated periods eventually come to an end. As the 20th century approached, new realities confronted the monarchy. The world was changing at a pace never seen before. Technological advancements accelerated, global conflicts loomed on the horizon, and political movements sought greater equality and representation. The monarchy faced the challenge of maintaining tradition while embracing progress. Some rulers navigated this tightrope with grace, while others faced criticism for failing to adapt quickly enough, and so the story continued, moving toward a century that would test the monarchy in ways it had never experienced. As the 20th century dawned, the monarchy stood at a threshold where the weight of tradition pressed against the accelerating force of modernity. Across Europe, old empires trembled under the pressure of changing political winds. Newspapers spread ideas with unprecedented speed, exposing royal lives to the scrutiny of millions. The monarchy was no longer a distant institution existing behind palace gates. It had become an ever-present symbol watched by a nation that expected strength, dignity, and resilience. The world descended into a devastating global conflict that reshaped every life within the kingdom. The monarchy, once accustomed to ceremonial leadership, now faced the urgent responsibility of guiding the nation through fear, uncertainty, and loss. Cities shook under the echo of distant battles, families waited anxiously for news of loved ones, and the identity of the kingdom itself felt fragile. In these moments, the crown's presence carried a new kind of power. The voice of the monarch resonated in homes across the nation, reminding the people that unity could withstand even the darkest storms. In the aftermath of war, the monarchy, though weary, remained steadfast. The nation sought to rebuild from the ruins, and the crown became a symbol of stability as communities rose from the devastation. The role of the monarch evolved once again, shaped not by ancient customs but by the expectations of a modern society that valued transparency and connection. The people looked to the royal family not only for leadership but for shared humanity. Their triumphs, sorrows, and vulnerabilities mirrored the experiences of the nation, bridging a gap that history had once held wide. A new generation of royals emerged, carrying with them a sense of responsibility sharpened by the memory of conflict. They embraced a world reshaped by social change, technological innovation, and shifting political landscapes. The monarchy entered a new era defined by diplomacy, compassion, and a growing emphasis on service. Ceremonial duties remained, but the purpose behind them deepened, shifting from mere tradition to a commitment to national unity. The monarchy's strength no longer came from its authority but from its presence, a steady figurehead in a world that changed faster each year. Under a new and iconic ruler, the monarchy experienced a transformation that would define it for decades. The crown adapted to television and global communication, becoming one of the most recognizable symbols on Earth. Broadcasts carried royal ceremonies into millions of homes, allowing people to witness moments once reserved for the elite. The royal family became more visible, approachable, and emotionally connected to the public. Yet this visibility carried challenges as well. Every expression, gesture, and decision was analyzed, and the monarchy learned that public admiration often came hand in hand with criticism. The second half of the century brought immense global change. Nations once part of the empire sought independence, each choosing its own path forward. The monarchy navigated these transitions with diplomacy and respect, acknowledging the evolving identity of a world moving beyond imperial rule. The crown's influence shifted from governing vast territories to fostering international relationships built on partnership rather than authority. This transition revealed the monarchy's ability to adapt while preserving the dignity of its heritage. Despite the challenges, the monarchy continued to serve as a symbol of continuity in a rapidly changing world. Royal visits strengthened diplomatic ties, charitable initiatives supported vulnerable communities, and public appearances offered comfort in times of national hardship. Yet beneath the surface, personal struggles within the royal family captured public attention. Their emotional journeys, marked by love, conflict, loss, and resilience, humanized the monarchy in ways history had never seen. These stories, often painful, resonated deeply with the nation and revealed that even those born into tradition were not shielded from the trials of ordinary life. Time continued its steady march, ushering the monarchy into a new millennium where global communication, digital media, and cultural shifts redefined public expectations. The crown, once anchored in ancient customs, now balanced centuries of tradition with the demands of a modern world. Each public appearance, speech, and decision reflected the delicate balance between honoring history and embracing change. Through triumphs and controversies, the monarchy endured not because it remained unchanged but because it learned when to evolve. As newer generations stepped forward, the monarchy began preparing for its future. Young members of the royal family embraced a world shaped by diversity, global awareness, and advanced technology. Their roles expanded beyond ceremonial presence as they championed causes tied to mental health, environmental protection, and humanitarian relief. These efforts revealed the monarchy's continued relevance, showing that its purpose extended far beyond its historic symbolism. Even as time transformed society, the monarchy's essence remained rooted in its ability to unify. During moments of national celebration, it served as a beacon of pride. During times of sorrow, terror attacks, natural disasters, and national mourning, the monarchy offered a steady presence that helped the nation heal. Loyalty to the crown no longer stemmed from the belief in divine rule but from a shared sense of identity that connected the people to centuries of history. Inevitably, the nation faced the passing of figures whose names had become synonymous with duty and stability. The mourning reflected not only the loss of a monarch or royal but the closing of chapters that had shaped the lives of millions. Yet with each transition, the monarchy showed resilience. New reigns brought fresh perspectives, new energy, and the promise of continuity. The ceremonial coronation of a new monarch echoed traditions that had survived wars, revolutions, and societal transformations, reminding the nation that history, though constantly evolving, still honored its roots. As the monarchy entered its most recent chapter, it faced a world more interconnected, vocal, and rapidly shifting than any previous era. Social media magnified every detail of royal life, both blessing and burden. Public expectations grew more complex, shaped by global conversations about justice, equality, and transparency. The monarchy, aware of these shifting currents, navigated them with cautious diplomacy, seeking to honor its heritage while acknowledging the values of the modern age. The crown no longer ruled by power but by presence, by continuity, by the weight of history carried with humility. Looking back across the centuries, the story of the British monarchy unfolded as a sweeping narrative of resilience. It endured invasions, internal divisions, political revolutions, world wars, and cultural transformations. It adapted to shifting ideologies, to the emergence of democracy, and to the changing tides of global influence. Each generation of monarchs, warriors, visionaries, diplomats, reformers, left a unique mark upon the nation's identity. The monarchy's survival was not an accident but a testament to its ability to evolve. What began as a system based on absolute authority gradually transformed into a constitutional symbol, representing unity rather than command. It became a mirror through which the nation saw its own reflection, its values, struggles, triumphs, and hopes. Through resilience and reinvention, the monarchy remained an enduring thread woven through the fabric of the nation's story. In the end, the history of the British monarchy is not simply the story of kings and queens. It is the story of a nation shaped by its past and strengthened by its capacity to change. It is the story of people, rulers and subjects alike, bound together through centuries of conflict, progress, sorrow, and pride. And as the present generation faces the future, the monarchy stands as it always has, a symbol of continuity in a world that never stops moving, carrying forward the weight of history into the next chapter yet to be written.